Part of the work that I do that I don't talk about very often is maintaining or establishing views on many of the projects we work on. When you live in an area that has valuable, valuable views, um, it becomes more important than the value of the trees, which is kind of ironic for me because I'm all about tree preservation. But I do get into jobs where it becomes very important to manage or maintain trees that have been topped in the past to keep up on the views. One of the things I really hate is starting the process in the first place. So anyway, this next video that I'm going to show you, it's not a long one, but it talks about a particular tree that improved the view of a client, and it definitely, in his mind, added enough to the value of the property that he wanted to do it. And economics plays a big factor in the whole game that we play here about tree work. If somebody takes the idea of, well, I'm just going to cut them all down, or I'm going to cut them in half and hope they survive, sometimes you gotta take the lesser of two evils. So if you look behind me, you can see that I've got a really beautiful view, and I have done a lot of view work here over the years. I try not to overcut the trees so that I can retain some shade on the tops of the trees, but I know that I'm doing damage to the trees too. It is what it is. And I hate to say it, but it is an aspect of my work that I feel is worth talking about. And as you can see, we get into some really high-end homes. Beautiful properties, and in this case, their view is very, very important to them. Not to mention the value it adds to this property. And this live oak over here, the one that Jorge's up in right now, was cut back severely about 9 years ago. And I got up inside and I was doing some of the deadwooding up there, and it is just riddled with sun scald. Every limb that's up there, the top surface of the limbs is just rotted and decayed as a result of this tree having been topped so harsh. Now here we go, we're doing it again, but I'm trying to make lots and lots of little cuts to keep the top of the tree somewhat protected from the sun scald. Now the value added by improving the view on some of these high-end homes that we work on is significant. I mean, it could actually add hundreds of thousands of dollars to the home's value. This one isn't so spectacular, but we do have to keep it thick enough so we can hide the view of the neighbor's house. But he wants to see over the top so we can see the trees, and way off in the distance he gets a little bit of a view of some city lights. Way out there, maybe a little bit. But not the kind of work I really enjoy doing, but I recognize the value of it. So from up in the tree, you can see it's got a lot of fungus developing on these cuts, and the tops of almost every single branch on the tree is burned from the sun. So the sun scald has caused irreparable damage for the long haul. And out there, I mean, look at it. Everywhere you look, the tops of every single limb is pretty much cooked. And that was all because somebody came in and just did some really harsh topping cuts throughout the entirety of this tree. I tried to leave as much upper canopy foliage as I could and still retain the view. It's a tough one to work on, but because of the initial cutting on this tree's lifespan has been dramatically shortened. I'd like to wrap this up with a few still pictures. This is a mushroom I found last week. It's a member of the Heraceium family. It's called a combs tooth. It's delicious. This apple tree is blossoming in the middle of December. welcome to California. And this, well, definitely a female tree. And that, well, that's just different. And finally, that's the first truck I ever bought. And it didn't have a dump. I finally got a dump in about 1976.